Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. That is right. Have NFL defenses figured out the Buffalo Bills offense? And is that why the passing game has been so inconsistent? Well, you know what? I've had a lot of questions surrounding this team because when you look at it, we really have the same core DNA pieces. Same exact offensive line, same quarterback, same running backs, all of the key contributors to the Bills passing game last year. And when I say key contributors, I'm talking top four in target share have all returned. Keon Coleman, you have Khalil Shakir, you have Dalton Kincaid, you have Dawson Knox. All those guys in which that led targets for the Buffalo Bills are back. We have a couple of newbies here and there. So seeing a weird efficiency drop-off didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I have actually ended up diving into some of the key metrics, advanced metrics, as into what defenses are doing differently to Buffalo, and hopefully how the Buffalo Bills can fix all of this and make the appropriate adjustments. As everyone's coming in, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up sign for coming on into the building, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to grow this live chat community to new heights. I know a lot of you guys hang out with me during my lives, and several of you watch the replay of this show. Okay, I would love to see you in here live occasionally. So make sure that you hit that thumbs up sign so it can propel it out and introduce the show to brand new Bills Mafia members, and also subscribe and turn on bell notifications because we have a great time over here. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat, folks. Do not be shy. Roll call yourselves. What corner of the globe are you tapping in from this morning? Man, I got to tell you, listen, I went with a parlay last night, picking all of the unders for the Green Bay Packers offense, and I cleaned house. Oh, my God, I cleaned house. That was an awful game last night, 10-7. Very tough. So to walk away feeling good about your squad if you're Philadelphia and or Green Bay. But I won on Sleeper Picks. It is the number one player prop platform on the market today. I can tell you guys that they are giving you a free $20 just for signing up. Link is in description. Don't miss out on this opportunity because they are certainly doing their thing. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up my visuals so we can get going because there's a couple of topics I would like to discuss here. But where's everyone tapping in from, man? How far does Bills Mafia truly extend this morning? I would love to hear from you. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. We have El Paso, Texas is in the building, man. He didn't even tell me the remaining part of the name of his town, but I already knew. Salem, Virginia, Florida, Burr. Bella, I'm going to tell you what. It was particularly cold in Florida where I am. I am located in the Panhandle. It was about 35 degrees this morning when I went to the gym. Absolutely insane. Buffalo, New York, El Paso, Texas is in the building. Oregon, Frankfurt, Germany is in the building. Dan's mom's house. You stay away from Mrs. Mitchell, okay? You stay away from my lovely mother. Arkansas, go Bills. Olean, New York. Buffalo, New York. Still never Sunday. Good morning, Dan. Brooklyn, New York in the building. 718. I appreciate you tapping in with me, brother. Tip City, Ohio. Bills whiffed on Waddle. Certainly did. Toronto, Canada. West Point, Syracuse, New York. Illinois, go Bills. Fort Pierce, Florida. Athens, Georgia, go Bills. Philadelphia, talk to me. Buffalo, New York. Cambridge, Ontario. Oh, my goodness. And Charlotte, North Carolina. I spent a little bit of time in Charlotte. Great city. Great city. Anyway, let's talk about this offense, right? Because I feel like that there's a lot of false narratives out there. And it's not y'all's fault because we live in the world of social media where sometimes takes end up catching fire, but data and film just don't really tell the exact same story. For me, I always like waiting for advanced metrics. I always like waiting for the all 22 before I diagnose issues with a team. So I was curious, what fundamental changes has this Buffalo Bills offense been seeing since the beginning of the season compared to 2024? Because 2024, I mean, hell, like we were a world on fire. We were world beaters on this offense. And again, like previously mentioned, we have all the core DNA pieces on this squad. So the first thing that I found was defenses are running an entire different scheme against us on two different levels. First up, I want to start off with coverages. What are secondaries doing differently And you will notice a significant increase in zone coverage against the Buffalo Bills. Not man coverage, zone coverage, which is interesting, right? Because you ask anybody what the problem is with this Buffalo Bills passing offense, and you're going to say wide receivers just aren't creating separation. Again, I'm going to tell you guys, when you look at the all 22, based off of everything I watched, looking at the times Allen was sacked, looking at the incomplete passes, there were, I am not steering you wrong here, maybe three occasions where nobody was open. For the most part, right? It's Josh Allen refusing to take guys that are underneath. It's Josh Allen passing on guys looking for a bigger play. But it's zone coverage. The Buffalo Bills are experiencing a significant uptick in zone opposed to man. So if separation was truly the issue, then Buffalo would be dominating right now, right? Like Buffalo would be dominating, and Buffalo wouldn't have had a problem last year, although we have the same core players. I'm not going to lie, like it's nice to have a guy that can create consistent separation to help us out with those three plays, because sometimes the game of football is decided by only 2 or 3 plays. But for some reason, this team is just struggling against zone. So you want to know what the real problem is, folks? Joe Brady is just not scheming guys open. Guys are not finding space in these zone looks. That's truly what the problem is. Guys are underneath, but where Josh Allen wants to throw the football, maybe deep on the intermediate side of things, guys just aren't finding space quick enough. So zone coverage, this team has been struggling with. It's not man coverage. Man coverage, we dominate. Like, we're really good against man coverage. Problem is that we are just struggling against zone. Now, why are you struggling against zone, right? Because if you are an NFL professional quarterback, right, like you should be able to know with all zone looks where space is, where you should be targeting your wide receivers, where your wide receivers should be. Why is it not working? I'll tell you what, it is another brain buster for you, because this Buffalo Bills team, as far as their offensive line is concerned, same core pieces of DNA. As far as efficiency, we're arguably better than we were last year in most pass protection schemes. We're arguably better in run blocking schemes. So why is Josh Allen experiencing more pressure and sack percentage win rate? Why is that? I think it boils down to, once again, this Buffalo Bills offensive line and Josh Allen by himself experiencing different looks, things that they're not particularly comfortable with and or used to. The Buffalo Bills have seen a gross increase in 3-man fronts opposed to the traditional 4-man, which Josh Allen knew. Like, we always knew this, right? Like, Josh destroys pressure. He's one of the best quarterbacks under pressure. He's one of the best quarterbacks against sacks, right? Not so much this year. This year, we're seeing Josh Allen bail out of the pocket. This year, we're seeing Josh Allen not particularly trust his offensive line. It goes into when defenses transition over into these 3-man fronts, you are far more equipped of being able to disguise pressure schemes. Miami did a wonderful job of this last Sunday. I have to give credit where credit is due, where they showed pressure, like stacking, 5 to 6 guys in the box, only ended up sending 3, but it ultimately confused Josh Allen because you never knew who was coming at any given point. So does Josh have the yips? Is that why he's struggling against zone coverage? Is that why he's leaving the pocket too soon? I can't tell you what's going through his head, but based off of the significant changes that we have seen from defenses playing this Buffalo Bills offense, it makes sense. No matter who you watch, and no matter what podcast you listen to, no matter what YouTube channel you listen to about football in general, you're never going to find someone that has the answers. All we can ever give you is what we think we know. And what I think I know is this Buffalo Bills offense is experiencing something that they're not particularly comfortable with. And I also think that Joe Brady is trying to force exactly what worked last year, although that defenses have an answer for it. He's trying to fit a block into a circular space. It's one of those things. It's just not working. So can we ultimately end up finding answers? Can wide receivers get space? How are we going to get Josh Allen accustomed to some of these really disguised pressure packages, these disguised sack packages? What you do, JA17, is you take the guy underneath. You take the guy underneath, you absolutely destroy them until once defensive coordinators realize, I got to stop blitzing this guy because he is destroying us 5 yards at a time. That's what opens up the downfield pass game. That's what forces defenses into man coverage. So that's my diagnosis. That is my diagnosis right here, folks. Number one, it's the Buffalo Bills are seeing a lot more zone coverage and guys aren't finding space. It boils down to defensive fronts running with more 3-man than 4-man fronts, making it more difficult to diagnose as into what the pressure package is going to look like, what coverage is going to look like. And it boils down into confusion. It's confusion. That's exactly what these defensive coordinators are doing. All of these guys get paychecks. Each and every single one of them do, right? I would be remiss if Buffalo were able to run with the supporting cast that they had last year and be a top 3 offense unit in the league, and defensive coordinators were unable to adjust. Brady needs to adjust. That's how it works. How you do it with J17, it starts with him. Start taking things underneath until teams have no option but to stop these exotic blitz packages, stop these exotic pressure packages, these looks, force them back into man coverage. And how you do it is you take what the defense gives you. That's exactly what it is. And I'm very curious to see how he adjusts against Tampa Bay. I don't think that it's personnel limitations. I really don't. It's more so comfortability. It's more so forcing what has worked in the past against something entirely different. That's my overall thought process at the end of the day, which is wild. So, folks, very curious to see what you have to say about that. Let's go ahead and get to the chat. How about Joseph Holland over on Facebook? Shout out to Joseph Holland on the book. Man, it's funny I call it the book. He's up in here. And shout out to everybody in here. We have 352 of you rocking with me this morning. 355, 173 on YouTube, 124 on X. Man, shout out to all of you. 57 on Facebook, by the way. I think Allen needs to find rhythm early in the game. I can't believe I'm saying this, but for us to be successful down the stretch, I believe a pass-first offense might be what we should consider. Open it up. We all know we can hunker down and run the football. Yeah, so for me, Joseph, I really think that we need to strategize accordingly based off of the opponent. If, for example, we're going up against a defense that is toward the bottom half of the league for stopping the run, you're damn right I still want, you're damn right I still want it to be a James Cook game. But say, for example, we're going up against a team that is quality against the run. Yeah, most definitely. I want to be able to focus on the pass. And how you focus on the pass here is you're going to see zone coverage. You are going to see, these exotic pressure looks. And you focus on the pass. It's what it is, man. That's basically how I plays it out. What's encouraging for me is this. We're getting to a point right now where, and definitely now that I'm speaking for everybody that's watching from Buffalo, just look out your window right now. Snow is on the ground. This is getting to a point, ladies and gentlemen, where if you can't run the football effectively, you're screwed. This is football weather right here. This is where Buffalo ends up excelling based off of the elements and how this team is built from a DNA perspective. So don't particularly go away from the run, but strategize accordingly. Say that the team is quality against the run. You're going to have to get this pass game going. And I think the script is out. You can obviously say this, right? So one of the big fallacies I always hear, when talking about football, is, oh my God, the script is out on how to stop the Buffalo Bills. That's information that this offensive coordinator and this team needs to take so they can make adjustments. If the script is out on the Bills, switch up the scripts. It's how it is. That information is also readily available for the team by itself. So I'm curious to see what we do. Dan, what do you think about Mecole Hardman signed to the practice squad? Jared is in the building. Jared, what's going on, man? So I'll tell you what about Mecole Hardman. I don't think that he was brought in to really be much of a help in the wide receiver room. I don't think that it has anything to do with speed out on the perimeter. Perhaps we could end up like utilizing him for a bit of like help here and there. But why I think the Buffalo Bills ended up signing Mecole Hardman was due to the fact that he is a very good punt returner. He is a very good kick returner. And the Buffalo Bills, guys, like we often don't talk about special teams, and we can pick out problems that we have with the defense and problems that we have with the offense all day, right until we're blue in the face. But something that isn't often talked about enough is that so the Buffalo Bills, like special teams is awful. Like we are bad. We are the second worst special teams unit in giving starting field position in the entire league by a landslide. I want to say our average starting field position is at 27 yards, and there's only one team that's worse off than we are, based off of what I ended up looking into. With Codrington is obviously not the answer. When was the last time we saw him? We've seen Ray Davis on a couple of kick returns and punt returns. We've seen Shakir. We've seen Ty Johnson. Buffalo really doesn't have an ace in special teams as far as being able to contribute to Buffalo's average starting field position. If you were to ask me, I think Mecole Hardman was brought in for special teams purposes, not particularly a brand new wide receiver that's going to be a crazy wide receiver number one. That's my take on it. I'm curious to see when he ends up getting the call. Will he potentially be the guy? Right? Like, will we see him against Tampa Bay, who has a very good special teams unit? But I don't know. That's my take. Dan, taking the underneath is literally the offense's entire identity in the pass game. What do you mean? It is, but that doesn't mean Josh Allen takes it, right? So I always encourage that for $15 a month, go to NFL Plus, NFL Pro, and you'll be able to look at all 22 film and see it for yourself, right? It's not that this offense is not creating wide receivers open underneath. They are, but Josh Allen just refuses to go after them, right? He's uncomfortable. He's very uncomfortable. He's trying to hunt big plays downfield. And how defenses are playing Buffalo is with that too high safety shell. We're seeing a lot of zone here. He's trying to force something that shouldn't be forced. And when it comes into Buffalo, one of the biggest problems with this team is first and second down average yards are awful. Like you want to be able to put yourself in good third down situations. And for the past couple of weeks, we have not been in good third down situations. Like you need to get those chunk yards on first and second down. So whether or not that like you want to roll with James Cook on the first play from scrimmage on a 4 to 5 yard gain, or whether or not that you just want to throw a little dump off to Keon Coleman for about 4 to 5 yards with no yak. Us taking advantage of early downs is how you make this team more efficient. That's how this Buffalo Bills team was able to be efficient last year. How defenses are playing the Buffalo Bills is why we only take things underneath, because everything deep is done. It's covered. It's just how it is, man. It's just how it is. And do you think the Bills should fire Brady and hire Dable? Great question. Great question, man. All right, so here's my take / devil's advocate. Number one, we wouldn't be able to hire Brian Dable right now. We would be able to bring him in as a consultant, perhaps. We would be able to bring him in as like a pass game coordinator. But as far as an offensive coordinator, you would be unable to do so. There are several rules in place where you ultimately need to end up having like a certain amount of interviews during said offseason. So I don't particularly think that Dable is going to be on this coaching staff really anytime soon. Now, when it comes into the differences between Joe Brady and when it comes into the differences of Brian Dable, this is the question I would like you to answer. Would you like James Cook to all but disappear? because that's what was known from Brian Dable on this team. During the Brian Dable years, I had something on this channel where I would scream, run the damn ball. And Brian Dable was a very one-dimensional type of offensive coordinator. He did not like running at all. If he did, would be a lot of like running back draws right up the middle, attacking the A gap. So you would go from a very well-balanced approach to a 70% to a 30% type pass run scheme. And do I think that that would work with our current wide receiving room? No. Maybe he changed. Like maybe he would make it more of a well-balanced approach. On top of that, you also need to follow the breadcrumbs and understand that him and McDermott kind of had a pretty bad falling out. So I don't think that the relationship is there specifically. I guess. So I would be interested, but again, why I'm not entertaining this is largely because I just don't think this team is going to bring him back. I don't think that Joe Brady is going to be fired, especially as this team is 6-3. If we go 6-6, maybe something different. But as far as bringing him into the building, I would be shocked, quite literally. Dan the Man always finds answers. Great job. Thank you so much, man. And look, like I said, I don't know this. I think I know. And that's all anybody could ever give you, folks. It doesn't matter how well-spoken somebody is. It doesn't matter how well-researched they are. This is all speculation. All of us speculate. So all I can give you is what I think I know. Let me see. What is Tampa's defense known for? Michael Sechrist. Ooh, man, I love that. Solid secondary, solid run defense, very well-rounded defense. You have a Todd Bowles, very aggressive, loves blitzing. So we're going to have our hands full. For sure. Luckily enough, you are going to be seeing me unpack this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense down to a T tomorrow on my Buffalo Bills and Tampa Bay Buccaneers full preview and prediction. So make sure you stick around, whether or not that you guys are working or whether or not that like you guys are going about of your day-to-day responsibilities, running errands. Always know, always damn know that you can find me on YouTube at 10:15 a.m. EST. I'm happy to make the day go by a bit faster. There should be a wholesale change in the wide receiver corps. Trade for Alec Pierce from the Colts, Jalen Hyatt from the Giants, and draft that kid from South Carolina. So Alec Pierce is going to be a free agent next year. So we wouldn't need to trade for him, which is ideal. I would be interested in bringing in an Alec Pierce. Hyatt, I will pass on. And the kid out of South Carolina, Nick Harbor. Okay, he is a big dude. He's 6'4". He runs a 4.3 40. Problem is that he has rock hands, has boulders for hands. He has dropping issues, quite literally, and many people are assuming that he stays in South Carolina this year. I have really yet to get into like prospecting for the upcoming NFL draft, but you're damn sure that wide receiver is probably one of my biggest needs, like going into it. I do really like that young man from Southern California, Lemon. Would be very interesting. He's right at around the time where I think Buffalo can draft him. So he's going to be my number one move. But knowing Brandon Beane, we're probably ultimately going to get like an interior offensive lineman or somebody else on the defensive line or like an edge rusher. That's more than likely what it's going to be. Maybe he goes wide receiver in the first. Time will tell, right? Time will tell. Dan, who are you keeping, Curtis Samuel or Elijah Moore? Gotta choose one. I'd probably pick Curtis Samuel. No, I'd probably pick Elijah Moore since he tends to stay healthier. We have Jeffries in the building. Dan, what do you think about bringing back Dable? I feel like we have the receivers there, just not used correctly, and these play calls are horrible. I just think that Dable could actually make better calls. So again, I think that you would revert back to a one-dimensional type scheme where we don't particularly have the roster for a high-flying wide receiver type offense. And with Dable has been known to ignore the run game. So My question to you would be, would you be okay seeing significantly less reps from James Cook if that meant that Brian Dable is going to at least attempt to wake up our pass game, right? And so I think, say that you were to ask a lot of guys, I don't particularly think that we have the units that would be able to make it work. If Brady snags a coaching position elsewhere, anywhere, then you could possibly see Dable back at Highmark. That could be interesting. So very often times, I don't think reuniting with an ex-lover is always a good idea. It, like in real life, but then also in football. For me, so I really think that Sean McDermott and Brian Dable relationship, all of the issues with that was a real thing. So do you want to know who I genuinely believe would be on the Buffalo Bills list? Stefanski would probably be on the list number one. Or Mike McDaniel, say that he gets fired. So I think both of those guys would probably be better fits. As far as Mike McDaniel, I would love to bring him in as an offensive coordinator. I really, really would. And Stefanski is just a McDermott guy. Like, he's like a run first type offense guy. And like, that's what Buffalo likes to do. Like, we've made investments in that, is like run, well balanced. So would I be pissed if Dable came back, if Joe Brady took a head coaching job, or if he got fired? No, I wouldn't be pissed. But I would much prefer a Mike McDaniel or a Kevin Stefanski if both of them end up losing their jobs this offseason, which I think that it's actually it's likely. We have Rob is coming on in saying, I hate Joe Brady with a passion. He's a POS play caller. Wow, Rob. Come on, Rob. Come on, Rob. Literally went downhill when he became OC, and I see it now. Literally went downhill when he became OC. I thought last year he did great. And so I thought when he took over for Dorsey, he did great. It's just he's not adjusting on how defenses are playing him right now. And he needs to. And I don't think it's just Joe Brady. I think it's also Josh Allen. I think it's J.A. is very uncomfortable back there because he's seeing looks from the defense that he doesn't often see. It's just an adjustment period. Hopefully we see a better look on Sunday. Bean will probably make another big trade with the Chiefs on draft day. We didn't do it last year. Bean has to be feeling the heat from the fans, right? He has to know the honeymoon is over. Yeah, so a lot of the times, man, like why I don't buy into Brandon Bean and Sean McDermott getting fired, or why I don't talk about it a lot, is it's not happening. It's not. Say that you and I were in charge of this organization, for sure, he'd be gone, right? Say that I was in charge of the organization. Yes, I probably would have walked away like last year, but he's not, right? And so I think a lot of it has to do with the Pagula Sports and Entertainment. Like, look at some of their other assets, folks. And so they have the Buffalo Sabres. I genuinely believe that the Pagulas are terrified of moving on from McDermott. And look at this from a business perspective. Don't look at this from a diehard fan perspective. I'm just trying to paint the picture, because I feel like the faster that you accept that we're stuck with Brandon Bean and Sean McDermott, unless we miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, you're going to be a lot happier person. Or at least you're going to be able to accept it better than others. They're not going anywhere. Hence why I don't really buy into these conversations. Do I think that it's worth to move on from them? Yes, but I have no control, and neither do you. So I often don't waste energy into making this a topic of conversation because I think it's wasteful. That's just me. There's beef between McDermott and Dable. It is not happening. Indeed. Football is like physical chess. You have to change up what you are doing because teams figure you out. Dable didn't have a problem adjusting. Seems like Joe and Ken couldn't adjust. Yeah, most definitely. With Dable, he was very often one-dimensional and would not run the football. So I wonder how that would mix in. And again, right? very oftentimes why I don't engage in the Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott conversation is exactly why I don't really buy into this Brian Dable reunion like type thing, because he's not coming back this year, right? He's not. So I don't think that it's worth having the conversation, because it's just not going to happen, right? Speculation for me is reserved for the offseason. Wow, the Dolphins got a win and they're all of a sudden on top of the world. Enjoy this because this is all you are getting. I don't know. So they are playing the Washington Commanders next week. Marcus Mariota. And it sounds like Scary Terry is traveling to Madrid, but he's not going to play. He just found an excuse to take his girl to Spain. Look at that. What was the main problem from the Dolphins game for the Bills? Dominic. Huh. So there was a lot. So the Miami Dolphins did a very good job at being able to disguise pressure packages. Very oftentimes you'd see 6 to 7 guys up in the box, would not send all 6 and 7, would only send about 3. You had no idea who was coming at any given moment. You saw Josh Allen. He would very oftentimes refuse to take the underneath stuff, big play hunt. You would also see that there was some like play calling gaffes from Joe Brady, like that 4th and 1 play action, which really didn't make a lot of sense to Jackson Hawes. Not being able to win on early downs, trying to force the run at the beginning of the game where they probably should have been passing. And I do believe that there was a sense that they went into this game riding off of the high of beating Kansas City, and perhaps preparation wasn't taken as serious as they thought that it would have been, because it's so easy to say that wide receivers weren't open, but like maybe 2 plays were that, right? Like 2 out of all the incompletions and sacks that Josh took, almost all of that was just 2 instances where nobody was open. Several times Josh refused to take the underneath stuff. He's bailing out of the pocket and taking unnecessary sacks. You had a couple of penalties that killed drives and turnovers, right? And credit to the Dolphins too, because like several of those turnovers, minus the end zone interception from Josh, both of those fumbles were just great plays by the Miami Dolphins defense. Great plays by them. Like that was not a gaff or like a juggling the football. Like that was them literally punching it out and making a play. So that's what's went wrong in my opinion, but all we can do is hope for a better circumstance. I think the Bills can win against Tampa Bay, since Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Bucky Irving are possibly going to be out. From what I understand, it sounds like that Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving were trending to play against New England last week after the bye. I would not be shocked if both of them are out there on Sunday. So I think we'll probably see Bucky and Chris Godwin. If not, we will see one of them. It's just a matter of where they are. Dan, you have been really spot on with your takes, and you're really spot on with where this is all going. Joseph, thank you, man. I hope so. So like I said, all I can do is just tell you what I think I know, okay? And because nobody knows anything. Like nobody knows what's truly going through the mind of the coaching staff. That's why they get paid the big bucks, man. That's why they get paid the big bucks. Statement, if I can sit on my couch and say that the ball is going to go to 28 or 17, and then the ball only goes to those 2 players, how can gameplay on defense not be about that? So I think that it goes a bit deeper. Yes. So I do think that there are very limited for every single guy. But when you end up looking at each and every single player, out of all the routes that these guys run, maybe with the exclusion of Keon Coleman, the 3 most common that each and every single wide receiver runs are the top 3 in their success rate, meaning that they are the best at running those specific routes. So sometimes you're limited with personnel. A pretty low bar to consider underneath pass options as getting open. But so here's the deal. So we just need to accept that the solution. So the trade deadline's over with. Like, no one's coming to save us. So we can't make Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel a good go ball wide receiver. Like, we can't make Dalton Kincaid have a brand new hamstring. So again, I don't like getting into conversations of, oh, the real problem is that we just don't have a wide receiver number one. Guys, I mean, we can't fix that. Like, we can't fix that. Like, do I want Josh Allen to be captain check down and take everything underneath so that we can open up that second level of the pass game? No, I don't want him to be that. He is a unicorn, man. He is a wild athlete. He's great off script, and he can make magic happen out on the field. But I don't really see much of or a sense of being able to discuss that. Be like, oh, the real problem is us not having a wide receiver number one. Well, guys, that wide receiver number one is not coming to save us. And so the trade deadline's over with. It's gone. It's kaput. So I don't think that it's useful for us to throw out solutions that this team is incapable of providing. So the solutions that I am finding is the more vanilla stuff, is playing more efficient, is playing take the underneath guy when defenses aren't giving you an ideal passing situation. So, like, that's why, right? Sure. So we could have problems with Joe Brady and his play calling. We can have problems with the type of wide receivers we have on this roster. But guys, like, there's nobody coming to save us. Like, nothing. Like, nothing can be done to fix either of those things. So all I can bring my mind to is, how can we make this work? That's where my headspace is at. Statement, Dan, this isn't the system J.A. is best in. He is uncomfortable in it, and he doesn't like it. Well, yeah, listen, so I would tend to agree with you. But say that we want to salvage this season and say that we do want to make a playoff run, then he's going to have to get comfortable quick. He is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I think with total value or like one of those metrics. He's one of the highest paid QBs in the NFL. Like, I mean, you should be comfortable with everything. It's not the best scenario, but I don't want to hear potential solutions, or I don't want to hear complaints about something that Buffalo can't fix. And I don't want to hear, oh, we should have did this. Guess what? We didn't. So it's either we sit back, we crawl into a corner, and we accept defeat, or we make what works for us. Several fans are of that mentality. I pray to God that our coaching staff and players are not about that. Have to figure out how to make this work. Dan, I'm hoping Hardman is coming in for punt return before we get Shakir killed. Well, I'll tell you what, Big Daddy D, I think that was the entire reason why he was brought in for punt and kick return, because special teams is something that is awful. Absolutely awful. We have Josh Allen has been whooping the Dolphins for years, and they're just letting all their years of anger and frustration out. I like that question. What is your opinion on the long-term outlook on the franchise? My opinion has changed this season. What do you think? So I think the Bills front office, like, minds and headspace is in the right area. So I think their intentions are right? Because, like, you end up making off-season moves based off of last year's biggest weaknesses. And I think a lot of us can agree that the Buffalo Bills' biggest weaknesses last year was the defensive line and getting to the quarterback. I feel like a lot of us would agree with that. And that's what Buffalo did. Like, granted, we've suffered a lot of injuries, which sucks. Like, you don't plan for injuries. Nobody's signing a guy to a contract knowing that he's going to be put on the IR by week 6. So Buffalo ended up making that adjustment and retooled the defensive line. Their hearts were in the right place. And guys, as much as it seems that, oh, well, it didn't work. Nobody's signing guys to contracts, or nobody's drafting players at certain positions of the draft knowing that they're going to be added to the IR by week 5. So for the past 2 off seasons, I think Buffalo has at least been in the right headspace for identifying what their biggest weakness was and trying to bring a player in to solve it. When we drafted Keon Coleman, while he obviously has not been working out with this team, one of the Bills' biggest problems was not having a contested catch wide receiver. That was a big problem for the Buffalo Bills, because you think about that drop pass from Stephon Diggs in the AFC Championship, a hard time finding a big go up and get it type wide receiver since Gabe Davis was no longer on the team, or Gabe Davis was struggling in that category. So Buffalo's headspace was in the right place. It didn't work out, unfortunately. With Keon, has been very hit and miss. Sounds like he's pretty young. He's pretty immature. It sounds like Sean McDermott doesn't particularly like him. But this upcoming offseason, what I believe Buffalo is going to focus on is bringing in weapons for Josh Allen. Now, how a salary cap professional football league works is we're probably going to say goodbye to a couple of pieces based off of expiring contracts. So who knows what our issue is going to be next year? Maybe it's interior protection for Josh Allen, since both David Edwards and Connor McGovern are pending free agents technically. It's hard for me to see both of them return. Maybe we go with the draft pick. But one thing I can give to Buffalo is, based off of their biggest weakness toward the end of the previous season, at least on paper, they've addressed it. Just hope these guys can stay healthy. Let's just hope that these guys can actually do what we drafted or signed them to do. So, long-winded answer to your question is, as long as Buffalo, right, maintains that same sense of mobility, I think that next year we retool and this offense is going to look a lot better. That's what I'm thinking. Dan, would you have pulled the trigger on the reported Waddle offer, first this year and a third? I feel like Bean missed a sensational opportunity, mid-20s, speed, hands, and signed until 29. Oh, for sure. 110%. 110%. I do not agree with Bean where he was. I would have walked away with the 2026 first. 0 questions asked. 0. No questions asked. But do remember, I really believe that Bean is going to make a call to Miami again in March for a potential trade. He tends to revisit these type of things. So I think, like, when it comes into it, I think the Buffalo Bills are going to go out and they more than likely are going to trade for a wide receiver next March. Maybe it's Jalen Waddle. Maybe it's Jordan Addison. Maybe it's Jamison Williams from Detroit. I do think that they are going to make a move on somebody. And perhaps they even draft somebody early on too. Next year, I think our wide receiver room is going to look a lot different. And that's encouraging. How do you believe the Bills can bring Hardman and Davis on the roster, and who will they release? So I think Shavers is probably one of the guys that will be on the chopping block. I think that he would probably be released and added to the practice squad. That would be for Gabe Davis. And then as far as Mecole Hardman, probably like a fringe player on the special teams unit, because I don't think that Buffalo wants to continue utilizing Ray Davis and Ty Johnson or Khalil Shakir as their punt and kick returners. And Buffalo has been struggling with special teams significantly. So I think that we could potentially see him out there. We could also give him like a foreseeable tryout. So with Mecole Hardman, because we can bring him up 3 times this year from the practice squad. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's it for the most part, man. We're gonna have to see. Nate's coming in. How much does our team culture and brotherhood amongst players impact contract negotiations for people like Connor McGovern? It's tough to say without being in there, It's tough to say. You can go off of murmurs that with Josh Allen has a lot of say of how this offense goes. So with Josh loves go balls to big wide receivers. He loves a Gabe Davis. He loves a Keon Coleman. That's the type of wide receiver he likes being implemented into the offense as far as the vertical passing side of things. I mean, he just likes it, right? Yeah, I don't know. Man. It's tough to say without it. Shout out to DT, 6th, with a $10 super chat. I appreciate that. It never fails. We always play down to the competition. This has to be a coaching problem. When are we going to come to the realization that it's time to move on from Sean McDermott? First off, man, I sincerely appreciate that $10 donation, man. I do. So I typically don't like getting into that conversation because I really think it's a waste of energy, because like with this ownership is not firing either of them. It would need Buffalo to miss the playoffs 2 years in a row right before that's even in the conversation. So that's why I don't waste energy, or I don't put out a lot of passionate content about moving away from McDermott. If it were up to me, I would have walked away a year ago, right? But it's not up to me. So I just don't think that this family or the Pagulas are going to walk away from him. So why waste the energy, right? As far as playing down to our competition, luckily, we don't really have many bad teams we're going up against for the rest of the season. So that's ideal. So no more terrible teams are going to be lined up against the Buffalo Bills. And do you think Mecole Hardman is a good target for Josh? So I think that Mecole Hardman is going to be more of a special teams guy for kick returns and punt returns. Surprisingly enough, so Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel are better than Mecole Hardman in most offenses. And if Joe Brady is not using so Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel effectively, what makes you think that Mecole Hardman is going to look any different? Go Bills! What is the likely scenario we cut ties with Brady, luring an established offensive coordinator? Maybe McDaniels, if let go, or even Lane Kiffin with the notion of replacing McDermott if he continues to come up short. Unlikely, but worth a ask. So I think Brady is either going to be fired or he is going to get a head coaching job, either in college and or the NFL. I think that's what it's going to look like based off of what the head coaching landscape or the open position of head coaches looks like going into the offseason. For me, I would like a vet, and so I would like an NFL former head coach offensive coordinator. That would be me. That's it, though. Tyreek Hill tweeted he thinks Hartman is going to be a difference maker for Allen. I don't know. We have Joe Mosey is coming in with a $10 donation. I appreciate that, man. When you have your back against the wall, people will push back. We did that to the Dolphins a couple of years ago in their own house and took back the AFC East. Big Q&A now. What do we do on 3-8? What would I do on 3-8, Joe Mosey? Damn, what would I do on 3-8? Good God, man. I feel like y'all about to crash out on this one. So it depends on the coverage. So what is the coverage I'm looking at? Say that I'm lining up under center. Like, what's the secondary look like? What's the defensive front look like? Are they showing pressure? Are they not showing pressure? Let me know. But I bring this up because a lot of us hate screens. Like, we look at screens and we're like, why do we do so many screens? I found something that's probably really going to upset you, and let's take a look. Okay. Why the Buffalo Bills do so many screens, folks, is because statistically, we're one of the best teams in the NFL with running screens. Surprisingly enough, I know that all we can remember are the bad ones, but the Buffalo Bills are the second team in EPA per screen, second ranked in the league, and success rate top 10 at 44.7%. So as much as we hate screens, folks, I don't think that Buffalo is ever going to go away from them based off of this statistic in general. This statistic in general. Something that's intriguing here. Let me see. What's up with having no punter or kickers all season so far? I don't know. So I refuse to believe that this is only a personnel problem. We repeatedly run stupid plays like a bubble screen, QB runs, and jet sweeps that continually get blown up. We have to stretch the field out. So this goes into what I was talking about at the beginning of the episode. So a lot of what's wrong with this offense is not separation. It's wide receivers finding space, because Buffalo is seeing a lot more zone coverage. And Buffalo is also seeing a lot of unique defensive fronts that are confusing Josh Allen, not knowing where the pressure is coming from, making him flustered, making him ignore the guy underneath. If you want to open up the downfield pass game, guys, number one, you need to force a team into man coverage, okay? And you need to start off with taking things underneath if they insist on rolling out the too high safety shell. If you're running the too high safety shell, very difficult to get a downfield passing game going. It's all about script. It's about forcing a defense into particular looks that you are way more favorable in running. Not a lot of teams are successful against too high safety shell in downfield passing situations, unless you have a really good contested catch wide receiver. Separation ain't the thing. Separation ain't it, right? Especially when you run zone. If Buffalo truly had a consistent separation problem, then we would not be one of the best offenses against man coverage in the NFL. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. And so the math is not mathing. And the film is not filming, okay? Like with Buffalo is truly having a big separation issue. Zone, man. It's zone and having the quarterback make better decisions. That's where we're at. What is the forecast looking like Sunday versus the Bucs? Great question. Weather report. Let's see. All right. Okay. Buffalo weather. Sunday, high of 49, low of 36. And it looks like rain, perhaps? And so the game's at 12, right? Or 1, excuse me. Yeah, it's going to be high 40s. Let's see. If the Dolphins can figure us out on that degree, do not be optimistic. Matthew, I know they said we wouldn't bring back Dable, but we should actually know how to use Josh's legs, and you can see in the same thing with Dart, Brady isn't using Josh's legs like we need to. Yeah, for sure, but we also need to remember that he's flirting with 30, right? He's flirting with 30 years old. So right now, partially why I think Brian Dable got the boot was Dart has the most design quarterback runs out of anybody in the league, and he didn't even play the full season. And he has been screened for 4 concussions so far. And dude's only played, 5 weeks? For me, I would like to limit the Josh Allen design runs. Scrambling is entirely different. I'm completely fine with scrambles if necessary. But I am going to vote against an uptick in design quarterback runs, especially with how Dable has been utilizing Dart. Is there any Tyler Bass injury updates? I think he's probably not going to play, especially with how good Prater has been playing for this team. I think that's kind of where we're at. When you run under center 90% of the time, of course, defenses are going to do that. We are running under center 40% of the time, actually. 49% of the time, not 90. Can't wait to see what kind of chaos won't ensue this Sunday. And then Thursday on a short week. Me too. We have a few inches of snow, and I'm right on the Cheektowaga Buffalo border. Look at that, man. Will ensue. Good point. Without Josh, we are bottom 5 for sure. Dan, how much longer Will we see Josh in his prime? Can't have him running forever. 4 years. Not trying to be Mr. Negative and doom and gloom, but it's really hard for me to feel optimistic with the way this offense has been playing. Look, and so I don't blame you, right? Like, it's at a you got to prove it to me type mentality. That's kind of where my thought process is. 5 wide, Knox and Kincaid maybe run some pick plays that everyone else runs on us. I mean, hey, but unfortunately, it looks like Kincaid's going to be out for about 2 games. It could be worse, Dan. Figured out, and 6-3 is pretty damn lucky, for sure. No, I agree. What's up, Dan? Hey, man, what's up with you? We winning the next 2 for sure. Michael, and he's high on the Bills, winning Tampa Bay and Houston. If Buffalo can beat 2 of the best defenses in the NFL, like soundly, actually screw soundly, we beat both of these teams, I'm going to be ecstatic. Especially if we can go out there and not cough the ball up. So because Todd Bowles is a great defensive mind, solid defensive mind. We shall see. We got to run the ball on Sunday because it's going to be rain, snow, a.k.a. football weather. And do you think Joe Brady adjusts, honestly? I hope so. I am at a low far as the Bills and Sabres is concerned, but I still have faith the Bills will turn it around, and huge. I hope so. And so I hear you about space, and so I wasn't just talking about deep routes, but shallow crossing routes, comeback routes, pick plays, etc. with J.A. and shotgun when he flourishes. Yeah, for sure, man. Listen, we are running a lot under center this year. It's a significant uptick. I've said a couple of times that I think if you want to get Josh in rhythm, then you need to let him operate out of the shotgun. Who cares if the defenses know it's coming? Because getting QB1 in rhythm is very important. Sometimes I think we're limited to like specific route trees of players because like we really only have like wide receiver 3s and 4s. Maybe you can put like Shakir as a 2, maybe. But when you end up getting further down the depth chart, that limits somebody's route tree. So I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, we made it work last year. But we saw a lot more man coverage. And we're good against man coverage. Zone so far this year, not so much. Find space. Pick plays, crossers, whatever you got to get done. Find the player to execute it. And do you think since we didn't go through this last year when we expected to our expectations got kind of thrown off? And do you think since we didn't go through this last year when we expected to our maybe, but it's more in my opinion that defenses have adjusted. Now it's time for Buffalo to adjust again. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. Number 17. At this point, put Max at wide receiver. I don't know about that. I think it's really clear that Josh doesn't trust his wide receivers at all. It's that or he doesn't trust himself. Is Keon going crazy for the rest of the season? I don't think so. Oh, man. All right, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Dom Mafia Report, guys. I'm live Monday through Friday at 10:15 a.m. EST. Breaking down everything and anything that has to do with your favorite professional football organization. Certainly do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign, subscribe, turn on bell notifications. I forgot to give this Dalton Kincaid signed rookie card away, so I'm actually going to be giving it away tomorrow. If you guys want to be eligible to win this, you have to be present during my live stream tomorrow. I'm going to be selecting somebody randomly from the chat. So if you haven't already, have your bell notifications turned on. If those of you that are watching on Facebook and you would like to be eligible for this giveaway, come on over to YouTube. I'm only going to be able to select one from somebody, so subscribe from YouTube. Shout out to y'all. And so I love each and every single one of you. Thank you so much. I will see you soon, and be good, do good, and go Bills. Peace.